Hello and welcome to Larry Has Opinions. You guys probably know that most of the books that I read are either ebooks or books that I borrow from the library. So you're quite unlikely to ever get one of those nice book haul videos with a lot of fancy cover and pretty dishes because that's not quite my thing really. However, I do tend to keep an eye on Kindle sales very regularly, so I end up buying a fair amount of them. Sometimes I know that I want to read them straight away, but sometimes they're just books that I think might be interesting and perhaps sometime in future I might pick up. So I want to show you what I bought over the last few weeks. First of all, I'm going to know very little about most of the books I'm going to mention so that I don't have to repeat it every time. I'm going to start from literary and historical fiction. There was a really good sale on all books by Kazuo Ishiguro, and you guys probably know that Never Let Me Go and The Remains of the Day are two books that I absolutely adored. So I ended up buying the Unconsoled, When We Were Orphans, and A Pale View of Hills. And I'm really hoping that one or possibly even more than one of these will live up to my expectations that I have about his work. I also bought Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo, which won the Booker Prize 2 years ago. And I've heard so much about this book, but I always thought it didn't really sound my type of book. So I never really bothered to pick it up. However, it was on sale, was only 99p, so I thought might as well buy it just in case I decide to read it at some point. I also bought Should We Stay or Should We Go by Lionel Shriver. I've read two of her books before, and in particular, We Need to Talk About Kevin is one of my all-time favorites. She has a really distinctive and controversial style, so I'm hoping this might be a good one to read, even though I haven't really heard many people talk about it. Then I have Summerwater by Sarah Moss, and I've never read anything by her, but she comes highly recommended by Bob the Bookerer, so I think it might be a good one to read as well. And another one that got a lot of buzz over the last few years is Tin Man by Sarah Winman. I believe this might be a really sad story, so I might have to be in the right mood to pick it up, but I've always seen very good reviews of it. And then I have The Pool of the Star by Emma Donoghue, which I believe is set during the last pandemic of 1918, and it's all set in Ireland, which is something I always enjoyed because I used to live in Dublin as well, so I always like being able to recognize the places that I mentioned and so on. And again, this has really good reviews, and it was also mentioned in my Discord as one that was recommended to me. Then I have a couple of horror mystery thrillers, and the first one is Tender is the Flesh by Agustina Bazterrica, I think. Which I understand is a very dark one, something to do with cannibalism, as the title and the cover sort of suggests. But again, I've seen a lot of people liking this. And then I have The Woman in the Window by AJ Finn. I haven't read anything by this author, but I've always seen his books come up and again. And this also got a Netflix adaptation fairly recently, so it sounds kind of interesting. Then I have a pretty broad spectrum of sci-fi books that I bought. The first one is Slaughterhouse-Five by Vonnegut. And this, I understand, is set during the Second World War, and it deals with PTSD around the bombing of Dresden, I think, something like that. But again, this is a classic, so I'm really keen to read this at some point. Then I have Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler, and I only just started Kindred yesterday, and I've only read like 20 pages or so, and it's already captivated me completely. So I'm really happy that I bought this one as well. I don't know when I'll read this one, but I'm definitely pretty sure that I will want to read more by this author. And then I have three staples of hard sci-fi where I virtually know nothing about them, and they're Childhood's End by Arthur C. Clarke, and I really love 2001: A Space Odyssey, so if this is the same level, I have really high expectations. Ringworld by Larry Niven, where I have just no idea what this is about, and The Diamond Age by Neal Stephenson, ditto. Then I bought a few fantasy books. The first one is The Burning God, which is book number 3 in the Poppy War trilogy by R.F. Kuang. Books number 1 and 2 I had already bought a while ago, so I was waiting to get the full collection. This is a very popular trilogy, but it's also slightly controversial, as in I've seen quite a few people who think it's a bit overhyped and overrated, didn't quite get on with it as much as they thought they would. So I'm not entirely sure if/when I'll pick this up, but it's kind of nice to just have it there. I understand this is all inspired by real events around the Sino-Japanese War, if I'm not mistaken. So it sounds on paper something I could quite enjoy. Then I have Peace and Turmoil by popular booktuber Elliot Brooks. This on paper sounds really up my alley, a sort of fantasy that is full of political intrigue and compelling characters, so it sounds like it might be something I would quite enjoy. However, I'm very reluctant because, as you guys know, I don't like starting unfinished series, and I'm not sure when this, I believe it's supposed to be a trilogy, will actually be completed, so I'm a bit reluctant, I have to say, even though she's really lovely. So then I have Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. This I was kind of curious about, and I know some people love it, but also some people say it's the weakest of his books. And I also think I will want to start the Stormlight Archives at some point, maybe next year, so that I can be on schedule when the last book in the first arc of 5 books comes out. So I'm not entirely sure if I'll pick it up, but it's kind of nice to have it there just in case. And then lastly, I have The Starless Sea by Eric Morgenstern. And I think this is a very whimsical, very thin on plot sort of fantasy, which is not necessarily my preference typically. However, it was sometimes compared to Piranesi, which I quite enjoyed. So I'm trying to keep an open mind. It was on sale, so I just bought it just in case I ever feel like reading something like this. And then to conclude, I have a couple of non-fiction books. The first one is Midnight in Chernobyl by Adam Higginbotham, I think. This is very fascinating. I do remember the tragedy around Chernobyl, and I'm really keen to read more about it. I actually thought I would read this earlier this year, and then for some reason I ended up reading other things. So this is one of those that I sort of feel a bit more confident that I will be picking up at some point. And then I have A History of the Bible by John Barton. I'm not actually religious, so I don't really believe in the Bible as a holy text, but I'm quite interested in the history of these texts, how the different books were written and in which era and what the context was, and issues around the different translations and why certain books were picked over others, and all of that side of history. So this sounded really interesting from that perspective, and I hope that at some point we'll pick it up. So this video was different from my MBR videos because these are just books that I bought, but don't necessarily intend or plan to read them anytime soon. However, if you are familiar with any of these and really like any of these and think I should push any of these up my priority list, please do leave me a comment and let me know, because this might influence me one way or another. I hope you guys like this video. Please give me a thumbs up. Join our Discord, the link is in the description box, and I'll see you the next time.